Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source. Another solid NBA night last night. Top bets went 2-0. We're off to a great start this week because Monday was even better than that. Let's keep it rolling. Obviously, it's Wednesday. 10 games tonight. Let's get into it.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Hey, get the Source.
All right, first up, Indiana on the road in Orlando. This line opened up Orlando -4, and everyone's on the Magic. Public's on Orlando, sharp money on Orlando, and the books respond to it because earlier this morning, this line is all the way up at Orlando -6 now. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Orlando -6.38, which gives us no lean at all. It's exactly where the books have it. So let's break down the matchup, and congrats to the Pacers. They finally win a game. They snapped their 7-game losing streak. Last night was dope too because I had Indiana +2 as my number 2 bet of the day. It's my second top bet. They were down double digits for the majority of the game, took the lead with 4 minutes left, came back and won. Now, does this mean the Pacers slump is over and we could start betting this Indiana team? No, absolutely not. The only reason I bet them last night was I hated the spot for Chicago on the back-to-back coming off a huge win over the Hawks. I hated that spot for the Chicago. That's why I bet the Pacers. Now Indiana is the team on the back-to-back. They played in Indianapolis last night, then had to fly all the way to Orlando. Now the Pacers are 5-4 against the spread on the second leg of back-to-backs this year, so it's not exactly a spot they've struggled in. But I will say, with Tyrese Halliburton out and Andrew Nembhard dealing with an illness, this Pacers backcourt is so razor thin right now. TJ McConnell and Buddy Hield ran 41 and 39 minutes last night in a different city 1,000 miles away. Meanwhile, Orlando's healthy, they're rested, they're confident right now coming off a huge upset win over Boston. I don't care if this line's 6, 7, 8, I'm laying the points. It won't be one of my biggest bets, but I'm definitely on the Magic. Give me Orlando -6 next game. Brooklyn on the road in Philly, nice rivalry game here. This line opened up Sixers -5.5, but look at all the early sharp money in on Brooklyn. Even the public is starting to tilt a little bit towards the Nets. Books do eventually respond to it. They drop the line. We're now looking at Philly -5. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Sixers -8.16. That's a nice little 3-point lean on Philly. Quick breakdown of the matchup. Well, the Sixers have completely caught fire, in case you haven't noticed. Philly's 18-4 in their last 22 games. And even more impressive than that, the Sixers just went on a West Coast road trip, right? 5 games on the West Coast. They swept all 5. At Utah, at Lakers, at Clippers, at Blazers, at Kings. 5 games, 5 wins, all on the West Coast. Now, normally, when you got a red-hot team like Philly, right, that comes home from a 5-game cross-country road trip that was very successful, then they have 3 days off. This would be a spot I'd fade them. Come back home, feeling themselves a little too much, come out flat in the next game. But I find it really, really hard to believe that this Philly team is going to come out flat against Brooklyn. You know James Harden wants to snap on Kyrie Irving. You know the Philly fans are going to be going nuts taunting Ben Simmons. There's just no way the energy in Wells Fargo tonight's going to be flat. That place is going to be rumbling. They should be fired up for that game. So even though it's a typical flat spot that I would fade, I'm going with the Sixers here. Give me Philly -5 next game. T-Wolves on the road in New Orleans. This line opened up Pelicans -2. Action's pretty split even on it, but if you look this morning, maybe it's slightly leaning towards the Pelicans, and the books bumped the line up. We're now looking at New Orleans -2.5. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be New Orleans -7.45. So that's a 5-point lean on the Pellies. Let's break down this matchup. And first of all, let's welcome back Brandon Ingram to the Pelicans lineup. He's been out for a while. I don't believe he's going to start. I think he's coming off the bench with a minutes restriction, but still we know how much of an impact this dude is to the Pelicans team. He's only played in 15 games this year, so he hasn't played enough to qualify, but he's shooting 46.7% from 3 this year, which would be good for second in the NBA if he did qualify. And he's returning at a time where the New Orleans Pelicans desperately need him. If you rewind back to December 30th, New Orleans was tied with Denver for first in the Western Conference. Zion gets hurt. We all know what happened. Since then, they're 3-9, including 5 straight losses heading into tonight. In the month of January, the New Orleans Pelicans are just 27th in the NBA in offensive efficiency. The scoring just hasn't been there, which is why getting Ingram back, a lights-out shooter, isolation scorer, he does it all, It's huge. It's huge for the Pelicans. I know I didn't even mention Minnesota, but for me, this handicap is all about the Pelicans. They're 17-7 at home this year. They've played really well in New Orleans. They've lost 5 in a row. They got their guy Ingram back. They'll take care of business tonight. Give me New Orleans -2.5 next game. Atlanta on the road in Oklahoma City. This line opens up as a pick'em, and we got a typical pros versus public game here. Public is all over Oklahoma City. Sharp money all over the Atlanta Hawks. Look what the line does. We're now looking at Oklahoma City +2. If we take a look at the spreadsheet, we got a huge lean on the Thunder here. Model is saying the line for this game should be OKC -8.38. It's almost a 10-point lead on Oklahoma City. So let's start off by saying Oklahoma City is an NBA best, 30-16-1 against the spread. Best in the NBA. They've also covered 9 in a row. They are on a heater right now. Atlanta is 24-24 on the season. Oklahoma City's 23-24. These teams are a lot more evenly matched than anyone's giving it credit for, and we get OKC at home getting points. Why would we fade that? Reason number one, that line movement. I mean, the public's already on Oklahoma City. Clearly, the books are trying to draw even more of the public in on Oklahoma City. Reason number two, this is a beautiful spot for the Hawks. You got Atlanta coming off back-to-back losses, playing against a team that came onto their home floor and beat them early in the season. So a little bit of a revenge factor as well. I got to roll with the Hawks here. Give me Atlanta -2 next game. Denver on the road in Milwaukee here. This line opens up Bucks -6.5, but by this morning, it's all the way up to 8. And everyone's betting the Bucks too. Public slightly leaning Milwaukee. Sharp money definitely on Milwaukee. But when we take a look at the spreadsheet, the model's telling us that the line for this game should be Milwaukee +1.34. That's a huge lean on the Nuggets. Let's break down this matchup. So Denver wins a close one last night. I don't know if you saw it. Jokic hit a game-winning floater with like 11 or 12 seconds left. Immediately after the game, they have to hop on a flight from New Orleans all the way to Milwaukee. That's a hell of a back-to-back. Now, Denver's sitting at 3-3 against the spread on the second leg of back-to-backs this year, so it's not like they've been completely terrible in this spot. But to go from New Orleans to Milwaukee to play a Bucks team that seems to have just found themselves, I can see why this line's at 8. Jokic was listed as questionable last night. Obviously, he ended up playing. So you would think on a back-to-back with a long travel involved, this would be the perfect night to give Jokic the game off. But as of right now, he's not even listed on the injury report at all. So that's definitely something we need to keep an eye on. Michael Porter sat out for the Nuggets last night. He's probably going to play tonight. But to me, the story is on the other bench with Milwaukee. We see Middleton and Giannis both healthy in the lineup together last game. They score 150 points. Now, Middleton only played 15 or 16 minutes, something like that. And yes, they did play the Detroit Pistons, but they looked unstoppable. No doubt this is a tough spot for the Nuggets, not denying that at all. But if you look at the standings, this is the best team in basketball right now. I mean, them in Boston. So there's no way I'm laying 8 points to them unless the books know that Jokic is sitting. This isn't going to be a huge bet on account of the situation, and definitely keep an eye on the injury report. But I'm taking the points. Give me Denver +8 next game.
Update. This line is now up to 10.5. I'm guessing Jokic, Michael Porter, Bones Highland, and Jamal Murray are going to sit. That's the only reason this line would be this crazy high. I'm just going to skip this game.
Washington on the road in Houston. The line is Rockets +3. Action's pretty even on this one. I mean, maybe slightly leading Houston, but not much at all. Line never moves. We're still looking at Houston +3. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Houston +1.13. So we're looking at a 2-point lean on the Rockets there. Let's break down this matchup, and props to the Wizards. Washington's now won 3 straight games. Porzingis isn't going to play tonight, but he didn't play last night either, and they went into Dallas and beat the Mavs. But on back-to-back nights, when you're missing a piece of your lineup that normally accounts for 35 minutes, sometimes more, the depth of the Wizards front court is really going to be tested here. Keep in mind, the Wizards are also down a forward because they just traded Hachimura to the Lakers. Yeah, they got Kendrick Nunn in return, but Kendrick Nunn can't make up for Kristaps Porzingis minutes. Sengun is having a great season under the basket for the Rockets. Jabari Smith Jr. returns to the lineup for the Rockets. This Washington front court is in trouble tonight. Daniel Gafford and Taj Gibson are going to be the ones taking up the minutes at 5 for Washington. I can't believe I'm saying this because the Rockets have just been so bad, but I think Houston's going to straight bully them. The Rockets are just 2-17 in their last 19 games, and guess what? I'm taking them. Give me Houston +3 next game. Memphis on the road in Golden State. The line is Warriors -2.5, and everyone's betting the Warriors. 80% of the tickets, 91% of the money. Golden State is the most public bet on the board. Books do react to it and move the line up to 3.5. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Golden State +0.65. So that's about a 4-point lean on Memphis. If you follow me on Twitter, you already know what I'm betting in this one. I don't care how public Golden State is. Memphis is now 2-12-1 against the spread on the road against Western Conference opponents. Stumbled onto this trend about a month ago, and it just continues to cash for me. I'm not bailing on it now. So it's gonna be Golden State -3.5, siding with the public here next game. Toronto on the road in Sacramento here. This line opened up Kings -4, and the public's heavy on Sacramento. This is the second most public bet on the board. Look at the money though, it's actually a little closer to even, which means there's some sharps out there to like the Raps, and then the line movement's interesting too. The number drops from 4 down to 3.5. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Sacramento -9.64, so we're looking at a 6-point lean on the Kings here. So let's break down the matchup, and I have a couple trends here that make it a little alarming if you're betting the Raps here. So the Kings are 26-1 against the spread on 1-day rest. They're also 7-3 against the spread with the rest disadvantage, making it a little hard to back Toronto out of the gate. But there is a nice little mismatch for this Raptors offense, which has been struggling. They're 12th in frequency in both shots at the rim and shots from the mid-range. The Toronto has not been settling for threes. They've been getting inside. Sacramento's defensive efficiency is sitting at just 23rd at the rim, 27th from mid-range. So even though the Raps have had trouble getting their shots to fall, this might be the perfect matchup for them to snap out of it. Now for the bad news if you're a Toronto fan. The Kings offense has a nice little mismatch of their own. Kings are first in the NBA in the last 3 weeks in shot frequency from 3-point, meaning they take more threes than anyone else in the league. Want to know where the Raps defense sits against a 3-point shot in the last 3 weeks? 27th. I completely understand why the public is so heavy on Sacramento here. I get it, but I have to go with Toronto. You know when you know what the right bet is to make, but it makes you sick to your stomach to do it? If you're a serious sports bettor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is one of those for me. Give me Toronto +3.5. Wow, Toronto +3.5, I'm doing it next game. Utah on the road in Portland. The line is Blazers -3.5. Public's pretty split even, but sharp money is all over Portland. 81% of the money on the Blazers as of earlier this afternoon. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to our model, the line for this game should be Portland +1.7. That's a solid 5-point lean on Utah here. So let's break down the matchup real quick, and I need to ask what's going on with the Blazers? What's going on with this Portland team? In their last 17 games, they're just 5-12 against the spread and 5-12 straight up. And the problem certainly isn't the offense, it's the defense. The defense sits at just 21st in the last 10 games and 25th in the last 5 games, so it doesn't even seem to be improving. What's the main culprit? Nurkic and rim protection. This team just cannot stop giving up easy buckets at the rim. In the last 3 weeks, teams are attacking the rim at the highest rate against the Blazers in the NBA, and they're also drawing fouls at the 3rd highest rate. So teams are going to the rim and getting fouled at an insanely high rate against the Blazers. So that means we got to bet Utah, right? Well, hold on, because the Jazz don't really attack the rim. They're sitting at just 24th in shot frequency at the rim. So this isn't a team that attacks the basket that frequently. What makes things even tougher is, as bad as the Portland defense has been, the offense has been electric. They're sitting at 3rd over the last 8 games, extremely hot from beyond the arc. And the Utah defense has been struggling against the 3 themselves. So both these teams should score plenty of points in this game. We're probably looking at a shootout here. There's a reason this total is so insanely high. As far as picking a side, I'm going with the Jazz. Give me Utah +3.5. Side bet Utah team total over 118.5. Next game, San Antonio on the road in LA here. The line opened up Lakers -6. Public's pretty close to even on this one. Public slightly leaning towards the Lakers. Sharp slightly leaning towards the Spurs, but really not much there. Line moves though, moves to 6.5. We're now looking at Lakers -7. And if we take a look at the spreadsheet, our model's telling us that the line for this game should be Lakers -5.22. So that's actually about a 1.5, 2-point lean on the Spurs. All right, let's break down the matchup. Obviously, Lakers coming off a brutal loss to the Clippers. Not much you can do when your opponent shoots 65% from 3 in the first half and jump out to an early 23-point lead. So can the Lakers bounce back against the sorry-ass Spurs team? Well, here's the thing. The Spurs are a bad basketball team. They lose a lot of games. One thing they're pretty good at is covering the number. Spurs are actually 9-4 against the spread in their last 13 games. And it's certainly not from their defense, though. In the month of January, the Spurs are sitting dead last in defensive efficiency by a pretty good margin. Here's the thing, though. The Lakers defense hasn't really been showing up either. Lakers are sitting at just 22nd in defensive efficiency in their last 10. So how much better is the Lakers defense than the Spurs? I mean, the answer is pretty significantly better, because even though the Lakers defense hasn't been performing, the Spurs defense is so bad, and the Lakers do get Anthony Davis back. Nice little trend for you. The Spurs are just 4-10 against the spread on the road against Western Conference opponents, kind of similar to the Memphis trend. So that definitely points to the Lakers as well. With Anthony Davis returning to the lineup and redemption in mind, I gotta go with LA here. It's tough laying 7 to a team that just always covers. But I'm doing it. Give me the Lakers -7. Let's go. All right, VIP tickets probably going to go up around 4:30 p.m. I got 4 top bets. Top bets have been hot too. They went 2-0 last night. Overall, they've been good lately. I got 4 tonight. So head over to KyleKirms.com or download the Sauce Network app if you're interested. Also, if there's any crazy injury updates that affects these bets, I will let you know on Twitter. So give me a follow there if you're interested in that.